Okay, as you wrap up your conversations, Blake is going to come around and invite the groups to just report out a little bit of what you talked about. Doesn't need to be a big formal presentation, but is there any group that's sort of ready to share just some of the words that came up and some of the leadership qualities or discussion that came up? Or Blake can just go around from table to table.
Test. Okay, here we go. Who would like to speak?
What words came up, and just were there any leadership qualities?
I just spoke last. It was fresh.
No pressure. We're all friends here.
All right. I've been on the mic quite a bit these last few days. So as far as in terms of single words to describe the state of occupational safety and wellness in our region right now, we've had a bit of a mix. So I personally thought that we're progressing just on the basis of us having these sorts of meetings. But when we take a closer look at the different occupations that we have in our region, between nursing and first responders and agriculture, we find that things get a little bit more tumultuous. There's still a lot of work to be done. But overall, and also in some facets, we're almost depleted. But overall, there is a sentiment that there are avenues to improve as well. So.
Did you want to share anything about the leadership qualities that were mentioned, or?
Okay.
You don't have to give it all. Just
right.
I don't know,
So
something jumps out.
Some of the most important ones I think that we discussed are receptiveness and empathy, compassion for the workers, and then also being aware of the use of trigger words versus real needs amongst worker populations.
Great, thank you.
All right. Just going to move on to the next group.
We're going to start with her, and then I might take over.
Just the words and the qualities. How's that?
Do you want to do words, and then I'll do the qualities? I don't have the individual word? Okay. Oh, those words, these words. Okay, so some of the words we came up with were collaboration. These are more phrases than words. Good communicator and listener, having an improvement mindset, open-minded. I feel like I've missed something. What else? Is there anything else? Balancing workplace accountability with empathy and compassion for an individual worker.
And then some of the leadership qualities that we identified were respectful advocacy, stakeholder awareness, so being able to listen and then have an open mindset when you're engaging with populations that you're maybe not necessarily a part of, being aware of their needs, modeling behaviors within your organization and within kind of the work that you do, and so not trying to take too much on and then not, doing what you say. Role management, and then the ability to cast vision within your organization.
Thank you.
All right, time for y'all to follow that up. Who wants to speak?
Right. First, the words that came to mind, and then the leadership qualities.
So the words we had were turnover, threatened, uncertain, growing, new, and burnout. And then some leadership qualities. We settled on our most important one was advocacy, and because that can apply in a lot of different ways. You're advocating for public health, you're advocating for workers, you're advocating for your employees. And then after that, we had diversity of background, interdisciplinary, and collaboration are all important because you're bringing people together. You have to be able to listen to your employees and apply their feedback and be open to criticism. And then we had sort of leading by example, but not just over there. You need to be involved with the people you're leading. So having experience and showing them work-life balance and that they can trust you, And then the last one we had was inspire your workers or inspire who you're leading by showing, empathy, patience, flexibility, resilience, and bravery. Oh, and then ways to lead. We had give recognition for good work, encourage an environment of encouragement. So make it so people are always talking like up their coworkers. Have an open door policy. So be ready to listen, be available to help. We had psychological safety. So like basically we described that as don't be scary. So like be someone that you're not going to like turn people away or they're going to be afraid to make mistakes. And then no empty gestures. So back up what you say you're going to do.
So much. Great. Nice job. Well done. All right, group 4, who would like to speak?
Thank you. All right, so maybe we were in a bad mood for our one word to describe the current state. We have downtrodden, uncertain, complex, mixed, slowly approving, and roundabout. And then for our leadership themes, we have being able to persuade management, being collaborative and interdisciplinary, being innovative and a systems thinker, having personal leadership qualities, like being receptive to feedback and being empathetic, and then being able to engage and empower workers. And then we didn't get as far in thinking about our kind of individual leadership ourselves, but we did get as far to say, all of us learning how to make the case to management for adopting worker safety, health, and well-being practices, being able to kind of speak their language to get access to workplaces, and then more generally having kind of developing our communication skills and training our students to do this so that we can effectively advocate with legislators, with business leaders, and with workers.
Good job, group 4. All right, group 5, who would like to speak?
So for our words to describe, our one words to describe the current state of occupational health, we chose, we kind of had a mixed positive and negative, but we did recession. Sorry, I'm gonna get a little closer here. We did recession, evolving, uncertainty, research, diverse, and growing. And then for our words to describe leadership needs and priorities for a leader to have, we said adaptability was our top one, followed by resilience of the leader, transparency, practicality, integrity, and stamina. So that's kind of where we targeted most of our discussion in talking about how you need to both advocate for your worker and take those issues in a practical and integral and flexible manner to those above you to advocate for funding and resources and things like that. So.
Thank you. Group 6, who would like to speak?
Okay, so I would agree that emerging and progressing were two big words that came to mind in the current state of health, in the region in general. We also looked at, I think, prevailing topics such as burnout, not only among healthcare workers, but the dynamic switch to remote work and how that often creates situations of not having an off switch. In terms of leadership qualities, we had an awful lot. We argued that experience is critical just because the field is so, takes so many different, thank you. Because the fields can be so incredibly diverse. We argue that staffing integrity, the ability to stand up for your leaders is critical as well. Looking at different ways and also things like being adaptive, having a vision, having flexibility, we thought was critical. And looking at how we ourselves could potentially improve and describe our leadership abilities We argued stress management, knowing our limits and thresholds, knowing when to ask for help, and seeking out, experiencing, and mimicking worthwhile leadership qualities that we've seen in others.
Thank you. Group 7, who'd like to speak?
Okay, so we're the last group. So we thought we'd be first, but we're last. That's all right. So that's all right. So for the leadership one word, we've got things such as conflicted, we've got transformed, we've got concerning, we've got shifting, and more holistic. As for the qualities for leadership, we had several, but one of the things that came out greatly was exquisite communication skills. Much better in the way of communications, energetic leaders. We threw in a fancy word, transformational leader, but also one that is politically savvy. We feel this is really important right now. Leaders can know everything about the science, but if they're not politically savvy, don't know how to advocate, don't know how to talk with legislators, this could be a problem for funding. We also thought that both the leaders and the folks who work there need to be in touch, especially with faculty and academia, with the real world, with the world of work. And Candace was talking about coursework that leaders may institute or have, like a day in the life of the folks we're advocating for. Because a lot of times we think we know how families operate. We think we know what the workers do when they go home, even if it would be like home visits or things such as that, as you have in other fields. But really getting to know just not the worker, but just not the individuals, but also their family life as well. For NIOSH, I think a lot of these are soft skills we're talking about, and perhaps NIOSH needs to, in their future funding, think about how to approach that for funding. And a real thing that I think we need to talk about for all the areas is people have to understand costs. Cost-benefit analysis, cost-effectiveness analysis. When we do the research, it's like my dad always said, it all comes down to money. Basically, in all of our research, we need to incorporate a recognition that things cost money, and what is the CEA, the cost-effectiveness analysis, cost-benefit, like management looks at. And I think we need to incorporate that more, and perhaps NIOSH needs to incorporate that into their funding. When you have a proposal, what are the costs, what are the benefits, and how can you advocate for that? Because money will be an issue. Also, Lead and some others talk about, while it's wonderful to be multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary, working with many, many groups, it's important that that doesn't dilute the team or the field, that the team is there, the team remains intact, and we don't have too much dilution of what we do. So is there anything else, guys? Got it? We got it. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
Great, thank you. This is a wise group. So thank you for all of your insights. And I also just really want to thank Andy Kane for being part of our team, who co-led the group last year and has been our collaborator throughout this process. And if anyone here is interested in joining this analytic team, sense-making team, synthesis team, please feel free to reach out to me. And we'll continue to work on getting this feedback back to you in a easily digestible way before we meet again. And I kind of like what we took from that third group who was talking about feeling threatened or uncertain. And I'm going to coin the phrase, don't be scared and don't be scary. So I really like that, don't be scary. So what I want to do now is, just before we take a break, I wanted to just share an opportunity that's developing here at USF, along with my co-principal investigators, Dr. Marissa Levine, who's a former public health officer and our professor of public health practice, and Traparna Devreda, who's a IO psychologist at Mumma College of Business. We are working together with a broader group because we really believe that this regenerative leadership approach is sorely needed. And much of your research and your insights have reflected that as well. And regenerative leadership model, this is something that's been developed by Carol Sanford, Otto Scharmer, the systems view for Chuck Capra, many others, really takes an adaptive systemic view and a holistic approach that intentionally considers and connects individual, collective, and environmental well-being. And so this program that we have been funded to serve as we're the Emerging Leaders in Public Health National Program Office, it trains cohorts from 15 states or communities each year, public health leaders and partners from these communities to build a network, or actually a network of networks of practitioners and leaders who are embedded in systems thinking. And so our partners right now who are working on this, we have a team here at USF who's working very closely on a weekly basis with Kresge Foundation, who's our initial funder, Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the Association of State and Territorial Health Officials, ASTHO, de Beaumont, big cities. A lot of partners are involved, CDC, and you are welcome also to be part of our co-development team for this, this program. So we really want to think about how we can build this cadre of leaders, or bring together a cadre of leaders that have the mindset and the skill set to promote and improve well-being at all levels. So, and as you can see, that really aligns well with some of those priority areas like total worker health. And that systems view is really needed as well. So this first cohort that starts this fall is, it includes public health leaders. It's a combination of virtual experiences and in-person gatherings, and again, a network of former alumni from some of these programs. We have a lot of training programs out there right now that are working together, but I don't think that's exclusive to public health, so please stay tuned. I think this is something that'll be really useful to our occupational safety and health and wellness centers as well. So in the interest of health and well-being, we're going to take a little break. We're reconvening at 11 for our next panel, but please get up, stretch, and have a drink, and we will join back just before 11. So thank you so much for participating.